The 1950s was a recovery time and a time for growth. Reedsburg added 464 people during the 40s and started the new decade with a population of 4,072. 2 new factories came to town, while others added to their size. The Reedsburg Hospital doubled in size and added 22 more patient beds. Education expanded with the building of a new high school and 2 parochial schools. Adult education courses were offered at night for the very first time. Miss Wisconsin pageant was hosted in Reedsburg from 1953 to 1958, when the local Lions Club was awarded the sponsorship of the event. The Lions also initiated Dairy Day celebration and helped fund several youth programs. These stories and more in Reedsburg in the 50s.
After several months of silence, a fundraising drive to fix the town clock began on January 25, 1951. A goal of $2,000 was based on an estimate to replace the mechanical clock works with a more modern electrical mechanism. The clock, which sat in one of the towers of St. Peter's Lutheran Church, began marking time for the citizens of Reedsburg in 1909 when the townspeople raised enough money to install the 4-face timepiece. For the next 41 years, the clock chimed the hour and the half hour, letting everyone within hearing range know what time it was. By April, the fund reached $2,097.75 and IT Verdon Company of Cincinnati went to work to restore the clock, brighten up all 4 of the 8-foot clock faces and replace any worn-out parts. On Thursday evening, May 24th, a familiar chime tone could be heard as the clock began to work again. Life was back to normal.
Better traffic control became an item when a portable stop-and-go light was purchased by the city in the summer of 1951. It was usually used at the intersection of Main and Walnut during periods of heavy traffic, such as Friday nights after a basketball game. Congestion became worse on Friday nights when the stores changed from staying open until 9:30 on Saturday nights to 9:30 on Friday nights in 1953. By 1955, city traffic reached a point where a permanent stoplight was installed based at the same intersection. This also included a pedestrian median strip surrounding the light for improved safety. The following summer, one of the traffic lights was knocked down in a minor accident. The Main Street Boulevard between Locust Street and Laurel Street was under consideration for removal of the median strip in order to improve traffic flow. In order to receive funding from the state for the project, they were told that the traffic lane had to be at least 24 feet wide in each direction. The city determined that they could leave a 12-foot wide median strip and still qualify for the funding. Parking meters were added to the downtown area during the summer of 1953 based on a recommendation of the Chamber of Commerce. 312 meters brought in a bounty of $340.68 during the first week of operation. City parks were added or improved during the 50s. The largest improvement was in regards to Webb Park. A dedicated effort was made during the spring of 1952 to finish the park, and by July, the park was officially dedicated. The city honored the park's benefactor, Herbert Webb, with Webb Day celebration. 500 people gathered at City Park to express their appreciation to Webb for his generosity. The crowd then followed the band as they led the group to the entrance of Webb Park for the dedication. A swimming pool and a bathhouse was added in 1957 to replace the pool located south of the railroad tracks at the end of Webb Avenue. Ramsey Park was added to the west side when Wayne Ramsey, president of Hankscraft, donated an acre of land on the corner of Pheasant Street and South Preston Avenue. The donation included playground equipment, including swings, merry-go-round, and a set of teeter-totters. Triangle Park, between North Avenue and 8th Street, was landscaped and became the city's smallest park. In 1950, 2 government garages were built in town. A Sauk County garage was built on the southwest corner of Highway 23 and County K on the south side of town. A new city garage was erected in the area of the old ball field next to the swimming pool near South Webb Avenue. This replaced the garage located between City Hall on Park Street and the library on Locust Street. This garage was more of a stable since this is where the team of Dan and Doll lived. They were retired the following year and replaced by a gas tractor. Due to the increased demand for electrical power, a new substation was built next to the city garage in 1956. The city's first permanent trailer park was sanctioned by the City Council in December 1958. Ernest Endy, owner of Endy Trailer Sales Company, was granted permission to establish a park on 4 acres of land between South Dewey and South Grove Streets. Lucky Street was to be extended to South Dewey, forming the southern border of the park. Sewer, water, and underground electric was to be made available to approximately 40 lots. In 1950, the city started adding fluoride to the drinking water in a bid to reduce tooth decay to local children. Reedsburg made national news in 1951 when a case of smallpox was diagnosed on Monday, August 6th. The next day, a strict quarantine was called for, and by Wednesday, a vaccination clinic was started at South School. It is estimated that 7,000 people were vaccinated within this time frame. The bulk of them during the clinic held in the beginning of the quarantine. The level of cooperation among the people in the Reedsburg area surpassed the expectations of state health officials. The level of unity became a story that was shared with the nation. Newsreel footage shot in town and at South School aired on multiple TV stations around the country, including NBC News. Radio stations and newspapers also ran the story. The quarantine was lifted on August 14th, 8 days after it began. No further cases of smallpox appeared. The Reedsburg Hospital received a grant in May of 1953 to build an addition that included a new delivery room and a nursery, plus an additional 22 beds. The new addition was finished by June of 1955. 3 new schools were built in the decade of the 50s, a new high school and 2 parochial schools. Webb High School began with a groundbreaking in October of 1953. It took a while to figure out where the school was going to be built, but once it was announced Herbert Webb was going to pay for it if they built it at the north end of Webb Park. It didn't take long for everyone else to agree. The first section of the high school was finished in time for the 1954 school year. A few classrooms and a shop area accounted for the bulk of new space. 1954 was also the year construction began on the Sacred Heart School on Oak Street, across the street from Oak Park. Groundbreaking took place the day after Christmas that year, and by the fall of 1955, 4 Sisters of the Order of St. Dominic opened classes for 174 students. The summer of 1956 saw the start of construction on the south wing of Webb High School. This added 4 classrooms and a library. Work began on the north wing following passage of a bonding referendum in July. The north wing added administrative offices, cafeteria, and a kitchen, a gymnasium, locker rooms, music rooms, and another classroom. There was a setback during the construction of the gymnasium when the west wall collapsed. The 32-foot high, 100-foot long wall was blown over by the wind just before the final stages of securing it in place were completed. Construction was finished by summer, and the school was ready for students in September. In 1956, St. Peter's Lutheran Church began preparation for a new school building next to the existing schoolhouse that was built in 1924. A house on the corner was moved to a lot on Laurel Street, and the ground was broken in July 1957. The new addition consisted of 4 classrooms, a faculty room, and a health room. The building was dedicated with a special service on Sunday, February 2nd, 1958. Students from the lower grades were the first occupants of that building. Little League baseball, snow skiing, ice skating, new parks, and a new swimming pool were just some of the recreational activities made available during the 1950s. Reedsburg became the very first official Little League franchise in the state of Wisconsin when 3 men made plans over coffee at Sultan's Cafe one morning in 1951. Ed Quinlan, Ted Merkel, and Jack Downing were talking about baseball for kids and decided to contact the recently incorporated Little League Baseball Association. An open meeting was scheduled early in the spring of 1951, and interested adults were invited to hear about the plan and what Little League was all about. There was a lot of enthusiasm at the meeting, and several businesses and civic organizations donated money. By the end of April, over 80 boys between 9 and 12 years of age turned in their applications. 4 teams were formed, and a baseball field was built at Webb Park, just west of the water tower. Donations covered the cost of a backstop, outfield fence, a flagpole, and a scoreboard. Opening day was a doubleheader on May 29, 1951. The VFW team beat Hankscraft, and the American Legion defeated the Kiwanis. Since the uniforms hadn't arrived by the time of the first game, the official opening date was delayed until June 15th. On that day, all the teams were dressed up in the new uniforms and marched down Main Street with a band and also accompanied by the Boy Scout Color Guard. They marched to Webb Field. The flag was saluted, and the mayor, Leo Chapistel, threw out the first ball. A crowd of over 200 were on hand to cheer the players on. A banquet was held in South School Auditorium in October. Players, managers, and parents gathered to celebrate a successful first year of Little League. Founder and commissioner of Little League Baseball, Carl Stoltz, visited from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, to speak about the program. Visitors from several Wisconsin locations were also at the banquet to learn more about the program. In 1954, gameplay moved from Webb Park to the new permanent field at Oak Park. In the fall of 1952, the city signed a lease to rent 10 acres of land south of town on Ski Hill Road to be used as a winter sports area. Civic organizations and business entities donated over $600 so that the city could develop an area to be used for skiing and tobogganing. Several groups of volunteers gathered at the Ski Hill site over the following weekends to cut trees and brush in preparation for the first snowfall. 8 toboggans were donated to the Recreation Department, and a rope tow to transport skiers to the top of the very steep hill was installed. During the Christmas break, the hill was open every day. Skiers came from as far away as Richland Center and Baraboo. There was a charge of $1 to use the rope tow, but tobogganing and sledding was free. During the following summer, donated labor and materials brought about construction of a ski chalet at the bottom of the hill. By the start of the second year, a ski club was formed with Jack Vinson appointed as president. Ice skating was another winter activity that was met with a lot of enthusiasm. Oak Park and Annastone Park were flooded every winter, and heated buildings were available for skaters to warm themselves.
The Reedsburg Lions franchise was chartered in the spring of 1951. 46 local men signed on as members of the Lions Club, and their first order of business was to organize and stage a city-wide festival. And it was called Dairy Days and was held on October 12 and 13, 1951. It was a huge success. Over 10,000 people came to the festival, which took place along Main Street, South Walnut Street, and the athletic field at the south end of Webb Avenue. There was a parade, concession stands, lots of musical entertainment, a tractor pull, a horse pull, and rides for the kids. One of the highlights of the celebration was the selection of the Dairy Festival Queen, who also was the Lions representative as Miss Reedsburg in the Miss Wisconsin contest held in Milwaukee that following spring. Dairy Days of 1952 was larger than the first festival. The guest speaker for the event was Senator Joseph McCarthy. While a popular representative at the time, his substantiated obsession with communists within the United States government took him down a path he could not recover from. By 1954, McCarthy became one of the most visible faces of Cold War tensions and widespread fear in the United States. The Senate grew tired of his discourse and began 2 months of hearings on August 31, 1954, to censor McCarthy. After his condemnation and censure, Joseph McCarthy continued to perform his senatorial duties for another 2.5 years. However, his career as a major public figure had been ruined. He died in 1957 at the young age of 47. In 1953, the Dairy Days Festival featured Frank Lloyd Wright as the main speaker. Grand Marshal was Merlin Meyer, who had recently returned home after 2.5 years as a prisoner of war in Korea. 1953 was also the year that the Lions took on the Miss Wisconsin contest. The Miss America organization had been looking for a new host for the Miss Wisconsin contest, and the Reedsburg Lions made a successful bid to take over the proceedings. Bringing the Miss Wisconsin pageant to Reedsburg may have been considered by some to be a bad idea. All of the other statewide pageants were held in larger cities. Reedsburg population was only 4,072 at the time, but that didn't deter the Lions Club. They had something none of the other organizations had: Dennis Jack Clossy. Now, in Jack's senior year in high school, he was one of 10 honor students for the class of 1947. He continued his education at Marquette University in Milwaukee, and while there, he got involved with the Miss Wisconsin pageant as an escort for the contestants. Following graduation, he was sent to Korea, courtesy of Uncle Sam. When he returned home, however, in 1952, he joined the Lions Club. He took over as Master of Ceremonies for the rest of the Miss Wisconsin contest in Reedsburg and went on to MC many more pageants. He was state director for Miss Wisconsin for 6 years. He also escorted many winners to Atlantic City. Jack continued to be involved with hundreds of pageants on multiple levels as a judge, MC, or advisor for over 43 years. The executive director of the Miss America pageant, Lenora Slaughter, visited Reedsburg in the beginning of 1954. She had been hired by the pageant in 1935 to reinvent the pageant and served as director for 32 years. While in Reedsburg, she spoke to the Lions Club members and representatives of all the civic organizations. She said the city of Reedsburg is the type of place that would open its heart to such an event as the Miss Wisconsin pageant. The Lions Club Dairy Days Festival and the Miss Wisconsin pageant became too successful for the city of Reedsburg. The last Dairy Days event was held in 1956 and was a huge success. Concessions, rides, vendor booths were set up along Main Street as well as the side streets. The problem with their location was that it impeded traffic along a state highway for 2 days, and the Department of Transportation didn't like it. When the city applied for permission to close off Main Street in 1957, the DOT denied the application. 1958 was the last year for the Miss Wisconsin event. The event outgrew the city's resources. Lack of accommodations and a small pool of sponsors prevented the city from keeping up with the growing popularity and costs of the pageant. It moved from a city of 5,000 people to Kenosha, a city of 60,000. There were also many more businesses to help sponsor the growing costs of staging the program and underwriting the costs for Miss Wisconsin to attend the Miss America contest.
In an effort to help reduce the nation's pork surplus, Operation Pork Lift took place in January of 1956. All 11 city grocery stores agreed to sell a variety of pork products for as much as 7 cents below wholesale prices. Representatives from the Sauk County Farmers Union, the Sauk County Farm Bureau, and the Reedsburg Chamber of Commerce made arrangements with the Oscar Mayer Company in Madison to supply the pork, since Oscar Mayer was the main buyer and supplier of pork in the area. The promotion was designed to help sell more pork and help stabilize farm prices. The sale started on Thursday, January 19th, when a refrigerated semi-truck arrived from Madison with a load of first quality government grade #1 meat. The sale ran for 3 days, and by Saturday night it was determined that 50,020 pounds of pork was sold. The Chamber of Commerce arranged for the parking meters to be covered so customers could shop without having to pay for parking. The last winter of the decade became the worst winter of the 1950s. It began mildly enough with 8 inches of snow falling during December of 1958, but on February 10th, 11 inches of snow closed all schools and most of the roads, including Highway 33. 6 more inches fell on February 23rd, enough to make the roads slippery, but not enough to close them. 2 weeks later, beginning March 6th, a 2-day blizzard brought 14 inches of snow, closing schools and roads once again. In November and December of 1959, 18 inches of snow was recorded, bringing the year's total to over 4.5 feet of snow. The decade was closed out when movie star Agnes Moorehead read the Nativity story from the Book of Luke during the Christmas program at the Presbyterian Church at the corner of Park and 2nd Street. Her mother, Molly, directed the program for 1959. Molly's husband, Dr. John Moorehead, had been the pastor at the church from 1919 to 1924. Molly moved back to Reedsburg after her husband died in 1938. You're invited to check out our other historical videos at our website, reedsburghpc.org, or our Reedsburg History YouTube channel.